It's a curtailed week for the Dow Jones and Co. due to Thanksgiving on Thursday and then an empty calendar the day after, though retail stocks may be worth a watch due to the rush of Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Investors are likely going to remain preoccupied by the same three things that have had top bidding throughout the month: COVID-19 numbers, vaccine updates, and the election aftermath. The first of those items is the most worrying, yet it always seems to take a critical mass of bad news for investors to really pay attention. Sooner rather than later, however, the numbers coming out of America are going to be hard to ignore, especially since Trump doesn't seem interested at all in fighting the virus. It's all well and good investors looking ahead to the vaccine future, but they also need to grapple with the impact of our pandemic present, and the situation in the States seems to be rapidly spiraling out of control. Speaking of vaccines, the Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna updates, with reports of 90% and 95% effectiveness respectively, have been, even more than Joe Biden's election victory, the main drivers of growth in November. Now they've been joined by a progress report by the one other major outstanding trial conducted by the AstraZeneca and the University of Oxford. At a glance, the headline seems a tad disappointing. The study showed an average of 70.4 efficacy, far lower than the aforementioned preparations. However, dig into the numbers and things look brighter. A half dose produced 90% efficacy when followed by a full dose at least 1 month later. Two doses at least 1 month apart, on the other hand, saw 62% efficacy, hence the average of 70.4%. Whichever way you slice it, the science is continuing to move in the right direction, with three major vaccines almost ready to go. Pfizer seems first in line, with the Telegraph reporting that the company's joint venture with BioNTech could be given UK regulatory approval this week. That to be before the US, where the FDA won't meet until December 10th to discuss authorization. Finally, there's the election aftermath, which, though it has taken a clear backseat to the vaccine headlines, is still a concern, especially when it comes to the harm a disorderly transition would do to the fight against COVID-19. It will be interesting whether the markets will get a sizable boost when, or sadly if, Donald Trump eventually concedes, which doesn't seem to be incoming, though there have been reports of increased Republican pressure on Trump to finally give up his legal heckling and accept that he lost to Joe Biden. Elsewhere, it's a front-loaded week for data, starting with the flash manufacturing and services PMIs on Monday. Both have held up well since returning to growth over the summer, so investors will be hoping for, at worst, another pair of mid-50s readings. On Tuesday, you've then got the CB consumer confidence number, while on Wednesday, an early jobless claims figure is joined by the latest durable goods orders, and a second look at the third quarter GDP number, which initially came in at 38% at the annualized rate. Obviously, any improvement on that will potentially help the markets continue their recent gains. The Dow Jones might be facing a slightly tricky week now that the AstraZeneca Oxford trial has reported, and the FDA isn't set to discuss the Pfizer vaccine until December 10th. We're potentially in sort of a no man's land of vaccine data and vaccine news, which has really been the main driver of growth, as mentioned, in the last month or so. I guess if the Pfizer vaccine is given approval in the UK, that will likely give the rest of the markets a boost, because it would be a signal essentially that the FDA would likely follow on December 10th, meaning that it would be gearing up for a fairly significant vaccine rollout either before Christmas or the start of the new year in 2021.